Every single one of these 1980s restaurant features would trigger lawsuits, health violations, and public outrage if they existed now. Yet millions of people nostalgically remember them as the good old days. What were restaurants doing that seemed normal then but screams liability nightmare today? Walking into a restaurant in the 80s felt like stepping into a completely different world. The air was thick with cigarette smoke, salad bars stretched as far as the eye could see, and nobody batted an eye when the waiter lit up a birthday cigar right at your table. Those were wild times, weren't they? Back then, smoking sections were as common as ketchup dispensers. Restaurants actually competed for smokers' business. You'd have the smoking section on one side and the non-smoking section on the other, separated by nothing more than a flimsy plastic divider. It was like trying to have a peeing section in a swimming pool. The smoke didn't exactly respect those imaginary boundaries. But here's the kicker. Over 50% of American adults smoked back then. Today, less than 15%. That's a bigger drop than my golf handicap after I started cheating. Then there were those glorious salad bars. Oh boy, were they everywhere. Pizza Hut had them. Wendy's had them. Even some gas stations jumped on the bandwagon. You could pile lettuce higher than your hairspray, and nobody questioned your architectural skills with cherry tomatoes. The sneeze guards were more like suggestions, and let's just say hygiene standards were different. And the breadsticks. Unlimited, endless, bottomless breadsticks. Olive Garden wasn't kidding around. They'd keep those carb bombs coming until you rolled out the door like a human meatball. Nobody counted calories or worried about gluten. Carbs were your friend, and friends didn't abandon friends. Well, times sure have changed. Health consciousness hit restaurants harder than a food critic with a grudge. Smoking bans swept the nation faster than you could say secondhand smoke lawsuit. Those beloved salad bars became liability nightmares, and unlimited anything started looking pretty suspicious to waistline-conscious diners. But the smoking sections were just the beginning of restaurant perks that seem absolutely bonkers today. Back in the 80s, walking into most restaurants meant navigating through what basically amounted to a nicotine fog machine. Smoking sections weren't just tolerated, they were advertised features. Restaurants proudly displayed smoking and non-smoking signs like they were announcing premium seating options. The funny thing, these so-called separate sections were about as effective as trying to contain a sneeze with a chain-link fence. You'd sit in non-smoking, but that cigarette smoke had zero respect for imaginary boundaries. It drifted around like it owned the place, which honestly, it kind of did. Over half of American adults smoked back then. Today, we're down to less than 15%. That's like going from a packed stadium to a small coffee shop. The whole culture just flipped upside down faster than a pancake on Sunday morning. Restaurant owners genuinely believed they were being considerate by offering both options. Makes sense, right? Well, not really, but they tried. The smoking section was usually the good section, too. Better lighting, prime real estate near windows. Non-smokers got whatever was left, like picking teams in gym class and being chosen last. Then science stepped in and ruined the party. Turns out secondhand smoke wasn't just annoying, it was actually dangerous. Who knew? Well, probably everyone, but denial runs deep when profit margins are involved. The whole setup seems absurd now. Imagine telling your kids that people used to light up cigarettes right next to their dinner plates while families ate nearby. They'd look at you like you just described dining on Mars, but here's the weird part. Restaurants didn't just tolerate smoking culture, they embraced it completely. Some places even handed out complimentary cigarettes with certain meals. Talk about customer service. Those days vanished quicker than free breadsticks at an Italian joint. Speaking of which, let's talk about another restaurant staple that's become nearly extinct. Those unlimited breadsticks hit different back in the day. Walk into any Italian joint in the 80s, and bam, a basket of warm, buttery carbs landed on your table before you even cracked open the menu. No questions asked, no limit either. Olive Garden alone was pumping out millions of these doughy sticks every year. Their servers treated breadstick refills like a sacred duty. Empty basket? Here's 3 more. Still chewing? Have another round anyway. But here's the thing. Nobody cared about carbs back then. Atkins was just some doctor's crazy theory. Gluten-free? That wasn't even in the dictionary yet. People viewed unlimited bread as pure hospitality. not dietary sabotage. The psychology was brilliant, really. You'd feel like royalty getting endless free food. Made you think you were getting incredible value even when your actual meal cost $20, which, adjusted for inflation, is like $50 today. Then came the health revolution. Suddenly, everyone's counting calories and reading ingredient labels like they're studying for finals. Restaurants realized they were essentially force-feeding customers their daily carb allowance before the real meal even arrived. Rising ingredient costs didn't help either. Flour, butter, yeast, everything got pricier. Restaurant owners started doing the math. Why give away hundreds of breadsticks when you could sell appetizers instead? The shift was gradual but brutal. Places that once prided themselves on bottomless baskets quietly switched to complimentary bread service. Fancy talk for "you get 2 pieces, pal." Some spots tried compromising with whole wheat options or fancy artisanal loaves. Nice try, but it wasn't the same. The magic was in the excess, the beautiful absurdity of unlimited carbs. Modern diners want Instagram-worthy presentations and balanced macros. The era of stuffing yourself silly on free bread before your entree feels almost prehistoric now. Well, speaking of prehistoric dining customs, wait until you hear about restaurants actually handing out cigars to birthday celebrants. Yes, really. But why did birthday cigars become such a thing in the first place? Well, back in the 80s, lighting up a stogie wasn't just acceptable, it was downright celebratory. Restaurant staff would beam as they handed over a complimentary cigar to mark your special day. Makes sense, right? After all, this was the era when smoking symbolized sophistication. The whole ritual felt like something out of a movie. Dad would lean back in his chair, unwrap his birthday cigar with the same ceremony as opening a fine wine. Mom might roll her eyes, but even she'd smile at the gesture. Kids watched wide-eyed as the waiter explained how this was grown-up birthday cake. And the weird part is, nobody questioned it. Restaurants kept humidors stocked specifically for these moments. Some places even offered premium brands. We're talking $20 cigars given away free. The logic was simple. Make people feel special, and they'll keep coming back. Then there's the social aspect that's completely vanished today. Men would step outside together, cigars in hand, bonding over shared smoke rings and terrible jokes. Another year older, another year smokier, they'd chuckle. These moments created connections that lasted beyond dessert. But let's not forget the economics behind this generosity. Restaurants weren't just being nice. They were investing. That $15 cigar cost them maybe $3 wholesale. Meanwhile, the birthday boy felt like royalty and told everyone about his amazing experience. Free advertising delivered with a ribbon. Today's health-conscious world sees this practice as promoting dangerous habits rather than celebrating milestones. Fair point considering what we now know about tobacco. Plus, try explaining to a 7-year-old why Grandpa gets a special birthday present that could literally kill him. Not exactly family-friendly messaging. Modern restaurants have pivoted to sparkler-top desserts and singing waitstaff instead. Safer? Absolutely. But somehow less memorable than those smoky birthday traditions our parents cherished. Speaking of memorable experiences, restaurants also knew how to turn simple meals into theatrical productions that would make Broadway jealous. All-you-can-eat buffets ruled the 80s like disco ruled the 70s, with absolute unquestioned authority. These temples of excess stretched across America, promising unlimited refills of everything from fried chicken to soft-serve ice cream. Walk into a Golden Corral or hometown buffet and you'd witness grown adults plotting their plate strategy like military generals. Makes sense, right? For $12, you could eat until your belt surrendered. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Those buffets were basically biological warfare training grounds. Hot food sitting lukewarm under heat lamps for hours? Check. Sneeze guards that kids used as actual shields during food fights? Double check. The salad bar lettuce turning brown while someone's great-aunt Geraldine debated between ranch and Italian dressing for 17 minutes? Triple check. Today's health-conscious world looks at 80s buffets like we look at cigarette vending machines in hospitals. Completely insane. The pandemic basically delivered the final blow to an already wounded industry. Suddenly, sharing serving spoons with 300 strangers seemed less like good value and more like Russian roulette with your digestive system. Well, there's also the waste factor. Buffett's encouraged the eyes bigger than your stomach phenomenon on an industrial scale. People would pile their plates higher than Mount Rushmore, then abandon half-eaten mountains of food because they overestimated their capacity. Restaurant owners watched profits disappear into dumpsters filled with perfectly good mac and cheese. Modern diners want quality over quantity anyway. They'd rather pay $25 for a perfectly crafted burger than $12 for unlimited access to mystery meat casseroles. The Instagram generation doesn't photograph buffet plates. They look like tornado aftermath scenes. And the weird part is, some places still try the buffet model, but they've added so many rules and restrictions, it defeats the original purpose. Limited time slots, prepackaged portions, staff serving everything. It's like having a buffet with training wheels. Then there's something even more shocking than abandoned buffets that restaurants used to offer guests freely. Kids ate free practically everywhere back then. Pizza joints, family diners, even some fancy places rolled out the red carpet for tiny humans without charging a dime. The deal was simple. One paying adult, one free kid. Sometimes they'd even throw in a toy or coloring book just to sweeten the pot. Restaurant owners weren't just being generous saints, though. They knew something we've somehow forgotten today. Happy kids meant happy parents, and happy parents became loyal customers who'd drive across town for Sunday dinner. Makes sense, right? A $5 loss on chicken nuggets could turn into decades of family business. The math worked beautifully in the 80s. Food costs were lower, labor was cheaper, and families actually went out to eat together regularly. Not like today, where everyone's staring at their phones while inhaling overpriced avocado toast. Back then, dining out was still considered a special treat, not a daily convenience. But here's where things get interesting. Restaurant profit. Margins started shrinking faster than a cheap sweater in hot water. Food prices climbed, rent skyrocketed, and suddenly that free kids meal wasn't looking so appealing to owners counting every penny. The bean counters took over, and generosity became a luxury most places couldn't afford. Well, there's another factor nobody talks about. Studies started showing that families actually preferred perceived value over outright freebies. Turns out, parents felt better paying $3 for a kid's meal that was obviously worth $5 than getting something free that felt cheap. Psychology is weird like that. Today's restaurants learn to work smarter, not harder. Instead of giving away food, they focus on creating experiences, kid-friendly atmospheres, quick service, and meals that don't require a second mortgage. The free meal disappeared, but somehow families kept coming back. And speaking of things that vanished from restaurants, there's another 80s perk that liability lawyers absolutely hate. Something that once made dining feel like an exclusive behind-the-scenes adventure, but now makes insurance companies break out in cold sweats. Want to see something that would make today's health inspectors faint? Back in the 80s, restaurant kitchens weren't some forbidden zone behind steel doors. They were tourist attractions. You could literally walk right into the kitchen while your steak was cooking, and restaurants encouraged it. "Hey, want to see where the magic happens?" servers would ask with genuine enthusiasm. It wasn't weird, it was hospitality. The chef would wave you over to watch him flip your fish or toss your pasta. No hairnets required for visitors, no sanitizing stations, no liability waivers. Just pure curiosity meeting kitchen chaos. Sometimes you'd even get to taste test the sauce straight from the spoon. But here's the kicker. Nobody sued anybody back then for slipping on a greasy floor or getting splashed with hot oil. Well, at least not nearly as much as they would today. Those kitchen tours felt like going backstage at a concert. You'd see the organized madness, smell the garlic hitting hot butter, watch the line cooks dance around each other like they'd choreographed it. Makes sense, right? Food tastes better when you've seen the passion behind it. Then lawyers got involved, and insurance companies, and health departments with clipboards longer than a grocery receipt. Suddenly, every kitchen became Fort Knox with steam tables. Today's compromise? Open kitchens where you can watch but can't touch. It's like window shopping for cooking. Sure, you get the transparency, but you miss that authentic behind-the-scenes experience that made dining out feel special. Some high-end places still offer chef's table experiences, but you'll pay more for that privilege than your parents spent on their entire date night. The real tragedy isn't just losing kitchen access, it's losing that connection between diner and cook. Food became more sterile, more distant. Speaking of distance, restaurants found other ways to keep customers entertained without letting them wander around freely. The cocktail hour used to be sacred territory in restaurants. We're talking about those magical 2 hours before dinner when everyone gathered around the bar, loosening ties and unwinding from the workday. Well, those days are about as extinct as rotary phones. Back in the 80s, happy hour wasn't just a drink special, it was a full-blown social institution. Restaurants would roll out the red carpet with half-price martinis, free appetizers, and enough alcohol to make your boss seem tolerable. The whole point was getting people through the door early, keeping them there late, and making sure everyone left feeling like they'd gotten away with something. But here's where things get interesting. Those boozy bonding sessions that seemed so harmless, they were actually creating a workplace culture that would make today's HR departments break out in cold sweats. 3 martini lunches flowing into 5 cocktail evenings became the norm for many professionals. Then, reality came knocking. States started cracking down with stricter regulations, workplace drinking became a liability nightmare, and suddenly everyone realized that unwind after work shouldn't mean stumble to your car. Makes sense, right? The shift wasn't just about laws, though. Society began understanding that responsible drinking meant more than just knowing your limits. It meant not encouraging others to ignore theirs. Those 2-for-1 drink specials that packed restaurants, they started looking less like good business and more like potential lawsuits waiting to happen. Modern restaurants still offer happy hours, but they're completely different beasts. You'll find modest wine discounts, craft beer flights, and small plates designed to enhance the experience rather than enable overconsumption. The focus shifted from drink until you forget your troubles to enjoy quality beverages with good company. It's funny how what once made restaurants seem sophisticated, those dimly lit bars filled with cigarette smoke and clinking glasses, now feels like scenes from a different planet. The whole culture around dining out transformed from formal rituals to something far more casual. And speaking of formal, let's talk about how restaurants used to police what you wore. Remember when putting on a tie meant you were serious about dinner? Back in the 80s, fancy dress codes weren't just suggestions, they were gospel. Walk into a decent steakhouse wearing jeans and sneakers, and you'd get the same look reserved for people who put ketchup on filet mignon. Restaurant hostesses kept spare blazers behind their podiums like emergency medical equipment. Men without jackets got the loner treatment, usually some polyester nightmare that had seen more action than a rental tuxedo. The humiliation was real, but so was the food, so people dealt with it. Women faced their own fashion gauntlet. No bare shoulders, no mini skirts. Some places even banned white shoes after Labor Day, because apparently fashion police had jurisdiction over dining rooms too. Makes you wonder if they checked purses for style violations while they were at it. The whole system reflected something deeper, though. Dining out wasn't grabbing a quick bite. It was an event. People saved up for weeks to afford one night at a white tablecloth restaurant. When you're dropping serious cash, dressing up felt natural. It showed respect for the establishment and yourself. But here's the thing about social evolution. It moves faster than a server avoiding eye contact when you need the check. Casual dining exploded in the 90s. Suddenly, comfort trumped formality. Why squeeze into uncomfortable clothes when you could enjoy the same quality food in your favorite jeans? Today's restaurants learned that excluding customers based on clothing choices wasn't exactly a brilliant business strategy. Sure, some high-end spots still maintain dress codes, but they're relics of another era. Most places figured out that happy, relaxed customers spend more money than stressed out ones tugging at their ties. The shift reflects our entire cultural transformation. We prioritized authenticity over appearance, experience over image. Though sometimes you've got to admit, there was something special about an occasion that demanded your absolute best outfit. Speaking of special occasions, restaurants had another trick that turned ordinary meals into unforgettable theatrical experiences. The 80s dining scene had some truly wild perks that would send today's health inspectors running for the hills. Smoking sections were everywhere, and I mean everywhere. You'd walk into a restaurant and get asked the magical question, smoking or non-smoking? As if a thin, invisible barrier could somehow contain cigarette smoke. Well, spoiler alert, it couldn't. Back then, over half of American adults smoked. The dining room looked like a fog machine had malfunctioned, but nobody batted an eye. Today, less than 15% smoke, and trying to light up in a restaurant would get you escorted out faster than you can say lung cancer. Then there were those glorious salad bars. Ah, freedom. You could pile on as much ranch dressing as your arteries could handle, and nobody judged you for building a lettuce mountain. But here's the thing. Dozens of people breathing over the same food, kids sticking their fingers in everything, and sneezing guards that protected about as much as a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Health regulations nowadays would shut down those free-for-all buffets quicker than you could say E. coli outbreak. Let's not forget unlimited breadsticks at Italian joints. Olive Garden was basically pushing carbs like they were going out of style, which, ironically, they kind of did. These days, mentioning unlimited anything makes dietitians break out in hives. But here's where things got really bizarre. Birthday cigars? Yes, some restaurants actually handed out celebratory cigars for special occasions. Nothing says happy birthday like a side of secondhand smoke with your tiramisu, right? The most mind-blowing part? All-you-can-eat buffets were considered the height of dining luxury. You'd waddle in, eat until your belt screamed for mercy, then somehow convince yourself you got your money's worth. Post-pandemic world has pretty much killed that dream faster than a health inspector finding expired mayo. Makes you wonder what dining perks from today will seem absolutely insane in another 40 years, doesn't it?